Okay, let's get into Angie Stone. Rest well, Angie Stone. Now, I had this conversation with my sister briefly, so I'm having this conversation for you guys. And we were talking about the fact that prior to her demise, Angie Stone was talking about spiritual warfare being done against her. And then she goes, gets in a car accident where she is the only person who does not survive. Reminiscent of Left Eye when she felt spiritual attacks were against her. And then she goes, gets in a car accident, da 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 da. Now, before I took my break on February 16th, I believe it was February 16th. I took my break on the 16th, but I believe I made a video on the 16th. If not, it was a few days before then. But I made a video telling people not to travel, that this was not a good time for traveling. And I also made a video indicating, coming. Now, when it comes to spirits, I know you guys are like, I give you information from the standpoint of a psychic, a clairvoyant, an astrologer, all these different things. But my basic thing in this world is dealing with spirits. That's, what I was taught to do when I was a kid. And when it comes to spiritual warfare, most people don't understand that you have a zone of protection. Normally, you have a zone of protection. And when you leave that zone of protection, then a lot of spirits that are waiting to attack you are able to then do what they were trying to do. And most people don't even realize that zone of protection, right? Some people think, oh, I'm protected everywhere I go. And that's not the case for everyone, right? Because they have not prepared themselves to be protected everywhere they go. Take, for instance, say you travel and you travel to, let's just say you live, let's just say Jacksonville, because of course I like Jacksonville. So let's just say Jacksonville is your hometown and you're in Jacksonville and things seem to go pretty well for you. You get a nice career, you get a nice spouse, you get a nice house. Things work well. Everything is going the way you want it to go. You need it to go. And then somebody convinces you to move to, say, Atlanta, because they say, oh, there's so much more for you there in Atlanta. Everybody's succeeding. Everybody's prosperous. And a lot of people who are doing the same thing that you're doing, they're prospering in Atlanta. So you pack up and you move to Atlanta. And all of a sudden, all kinds of destruction start taking place. You got your health failing. You got all kinds of things going down, 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 down. And you wonder why. And you're like, why is this happening to me? Now, it could be in line with your season, because when we go through our dashas, there's different things that happen at different times. But if it happens like that, it's not in line with your season. It is in line with the fact that you left your zone of protection. And when you relocated, you did not prepare yourself to have a zone of protection in a new place that you went to. And although some people who are really, really aware of spiritual warfare are aware of zone of protection, they aren't aware of what to do to extend their zone of protection, right? Because I've traveled so many different places and been in some interesting situations, and people are like, how have you traveled so much knowing that that there's spiritual warfare going on? And I know when I go places, I recognize when the spiritual attacks take place. Case in point, when I went to Savannah last year, where there's heavy, heavy concentration of spirits that are warring, right? Not peaceful, but they're warring spirits. But I'm also in touch with, okay, now that I realize this place, my base level of protection wasn't enough, I had to take it up a notch so that I can be protected when I go there. And even then, it is a cautionary tale every time I travel back to Savannah, after I go someplace. Okay. Now, all that being said, it is tragic to hear of Angie Stone's passing, but it's also tragic to hear that she knew about spiritual warfare taking place and was not in a position to really do anything about it, right? That was the same case with Left Eye. And all these years later, people are like, oh, she talked about it. She knew about it. A lot of people who are under spiritual attack know that they're under spiritual attack, and people around them tend to think they're crazy. And they're not. They're dealing with spiritual warfare. And for those who are not aware of spiritual warfare, you can't understand what they're going through. So, of course, after they're gone, you're like, oh my God, they were right. Maybe y'all should start listening before people are gone. Okay? And maybe you need to learn about zones of protection and whether or not you are protected everywhere you go. And maybe you should pay attention. And this is also why you should be journaling, so that you know that when something happens to you, where you were when it happened, so that you can actually perhaps, hopefully, do something about it. Bye.